Hi everyone, Crista Cowan here with another episode of the Barefoot Genealogist. It is the last day of the last week of National Family History Month here in the United States. And today's presentation, we're going to talk about genealogy resources that professional genealogists use. We're certainly not going to cover all of them, but we're going to build on Tuesday's presentation. On Tuesday, we talked about genealogy education, and one of the things that professional genealogists do is further their education. They recognize that they don't know what they don't know, and they are willing to learn from whatever resources are available. So we're just going to build on that with some additional educational resources, and I may throw in one or two of my favorite websites that I use for resources or references as well. So with that introduction, let's go ahead and dive in to talk about the favorite resources of professional genealogists. We're going to just start with a reminder about the Board for Certification of Genealogists. bcgcertification.org is their website. I pointed it out on Tuesday, but if you missed that presentation, let me just remind you, there are some excellent resources there. In particular, they have a whole skill building section with sample research problems and solutions written up by professional genealogists so that you can kind of see the thought process. One of the things that genealogists do a lot of is read research challenges and solutions from other genealogists. Those case studies help us come up with ways we can solve our own problems. Now, that's the Board for the Certification of Genealogists. There is another organization, the International Commission for the Accreditation of Professional Genealogists. So genealogists can be certified or accredited. icapgen.org also has a website with some excellent resources available there. And then finally, kind of in that professional realm, is the Association of Professional Genealogists. Their website is apgen.org, APGen. The Association of Professional Genealogists is an organization that professional genealogists can join with annual dues that provides them access to a mailing list where they can interact with other genealogists. They have a quarterly magazine that is published that provides excellent information and resources. And again, just gives you insight into how other genealogists work so that you can work better and smarter. Now, let me just talk about a couple of my favorite websites for research outside of Ancestry.com and the Ancestry.com family. The first one is Cindy's List. If you're not familiar with Cindy's List, she is a treasure in the genealogy community. Basically, what Cindy does is she has created a website where there are links to any website anywhere that has some value for genealogists. That's a really broad description, but let me just show you her website if you're not familiar with it. I use it quite a bit. Again, it's cindyslist.com, and she has taken this, here's her description, a comprehensive, categorized, and cross-reference list of links that point you to genealogical research sites online. This is a free website. She does operate on donations, so if you find what she has done useful, by all means consider donating, because she does this free of charge, or the website is made available free of charge. You can then come here and search by category. You can just browse around her website, or there is a search box up here. So for example, if I was interested in learning about what links exist for Arkansas genealogy, I could just type in Arkansas. The first non-advertisement link here is for Cindy's Arkansas page. And then I can further look at information based on a specific category. So if I was interested, for example, in birth, marriage, and death records from Arkansas, I could click on that link and it will take me to this page of links for Arkansas records. Now, one of the things she does that I really appreciate is next to every link, there will be, it will either just have the link or it will have the link and a little $sign. The little $sign is just a notification that if you click that link, it will take you to a paid website. In this case, of course, a lot of these links go to Ancestry.com because we have quite a few Arkansas records on Ancestry.com, so it's just a different way into the data. But not all of them go to paid records. You see here is a link to the Arkansas Department of Health for in order to order an original copy of a death certificate from 1935 to 1961. Just really, really excellent resources available on Cindy's List. I use it oftentimes more than Google when I'm looking for specific information about genealogy resources, because I know that, first of all, she vets her links very well, so I know that the links are going to work. Second of all, I know they're going to be genealogically relevant, so I'm not just, I do still use Google, but Google will return anything that matches my keywords. Where I'm looking for something very specific to family history, I'll come to Cindy's List and see what she has cataloged based on what I'm looking for. So I encourage you to play around with that. And again, you can browse by category by clicking this category button, or you can just do a custom search here on her website. You can search by record type, you can search by location. Any one of those things will bring up lists of links for records that you're interested in. The next website that I use a lot, it's been renamed recently. It's now called mapofus.org. That's mapofus.org. One of the things in family history that is both frustrating and kind of makes it a little bit more exciting for me is the boundary changes. We're all aware that boundaries have changed over time, but what you may not realize is how much they have changed. And so this map, what it allows you to do is it allows you to click on any state, and it takes you to a county formation map. Now I'm having a little bit of struggle here. I'm still on vacation, and so I'm using a wireless internet connection, and it may not be 100% reliable here right now. But so what you do is you click on a state, and it will show you over time the way that the counties were formed and the boundaries were changed. And that's really, really important because your family may never have moved, but they may have lived in multiple locations, or it's not just multiple counties, but multiple states as well. And so this resource helps me visualize exactly what's happening in the area, and it's done by year. So you click through the map by year, and it shows you exactly year over year what changes. So you can look at it when your ancestor was born there, and maybe when they got married and when they died, and you can see how that location may have changed over their particular lifetime. So that's mapofus.org, and again, huge resource that I use all the time to check the way that boundaries are organized. So that's just a rundown of a few websites that I use as a professional genealogist, that I reference, that I look to. Let me just, we're going to go in depth now to a couple of other websites that a lot of professional genealogists use. The first thing has to do with the citing your sources. One of the things that differentiates or holds professional genealogists apart is that they are very, very, very particular and avid about citing their sources. It's a good habit for anybody to get into. It's something that is going to help you. It'll only help you in your research. As you cite your source, it helps you to understand where the record came from. It helps you to remember where that record came from, because you will forget. It helps you to know where that information that why did you put this down as the name or this down as the birth date or place? It helps you to analyze that record to make sure that it really is your person, to make sure that you've got all the information out of the record, to make sure that you understand it. And so on Ancestry.com, we actually provide the source information in several locations. So let me just share with you where you're going to find that information. The first place this information shows up is on the database page. So when you're looking at a specific database, usually you get there through the card catalog. If you scroll down past that search box, you're going to see source information. So for example, this Pennsylvania Town and Church Records database, Ancestry.com obtained it from the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. So now you know where that information came from. Below that source information, there's also going to be a database description that's going to have even more information about that particular database, some of the quirks, some of the information that might be missing. Like sometimes we get records, sets of records, where original information was missing from them. We'll list that in the database description. A lot of times it'll also include a link to the organization that provided the the database to Ancestry.com so that you can go and see if they have more information. So again, that's on the database page. If you scroll down past that search box, you're going to see that source description and that database description. Now, this same set of records, like here's an actual record from that collection. I'm also going to find the source information below this orange save button. So I've got my index information and a link to my image, my save button, and then here's that source citation. And here's an abbreviated version of that database description. And if I just click the Learn More button, it takes me right to that page, the database page with the database description. The last place I'm going to find this source information is on the image itself. So we provide you 3 different ways to get to this information. And I just want to give a shout out to Dear Myrtle. She started a conversation on Facebook last week trying to locate source information when she's viewing the image. And because of a discussion with her and one of her followers, we were able to figure out how to get information while you're on the image. So there's you can click on this little tools button up here, and there's a link here to view the source. Now, when you hover over that, it also tells you that there is a shortcut key. You can just press the S. So when I'm on the image, I can just press the S, and it will bring up the source information in a pop-up box on this particular screen. So that is important that you know where to find that information, because citing your sources is, again, one of those things that professional genealogists are very, very careful about, because that source citation is the foundation of good research. If you're not doing that, you're doing yourself and anybody who might inherit or your family history research or follow along in your footsteps a huge disservice. And so there are a few things, again, that professional genealogists use, a few resources that we use that help us cite our sources better, more effectively, more efficiently, more usefully. Kind of the standard, the gold standard for source citation is the book Evidence Explained by Elizabeth Shown Mills. She has put together a book that allows us to cite sources from actual physical things. She uses this subtitle, Citing History Sources from Artifacts to Cyberspace. So artifacts meaning actual physical things in your possession, all the way through books, old letters, photographs, right? Those kinds of things, all the way through to an image you might find on Ancestry.com. She shows you how to cite those sources. And then she also has a website. So this is a book, and I actually have a copy of this book. It sits on my desk. I use it all of the time. She also has what she calls quick guides. So she has a couple of laminated quick guides, and I have those as well sitting on my desk, so I can just pull that, look at it, make sure that I'm citing my sources correctly, that I'm including all the information. On her website, so if I come over here and I go to evidenceexplained.com, she has a website with quick check models, so you can check your source against some of the samples and make sure that you're doing it correctly. She also has these quick lessons, and I love these. You know what? I spent a lot of time when her website first launched reading through these quick lessons. All sorts of different topics from, here's one, what can we do with a list of names? So your ancestor shows up on a list of names. What does that mean? Here's one of my favorites. Quick lesson 17 is the evidence analysis process map. So in this lesson, she talks about sources, and then she talks about information and evidence. So you learn what's the difference between an original source or a derivative source. What's the difference between primary information and secondary information? What's the difference between direct evidence and indirect evidence, or even negative evidence? All of those things combine and allow you to analyze every record you find, so that you know that it's for your person, you know what it tells you, and you know what that information allows you to do next. So excellent resource that almost all professional genealogists use and are very, very familiar with. In addition to a website, Elizabeth also has a Facebook page. So if you just go to facebook.com/evidenceexplained, she has this Facebook page where she does little quick lessons or tips and tricks online. So they just show up in your regular Facebook newsfeed. Things like word definitions, which are important in genealogy. Excuse me, not just to understand the definitions of words that are used on historical documents, but also to understand the language that we use as genealogists to make sure that we all understand each other, so that we're all speaking the same language, so that we can help each other, so that we provide resources and information for each other. She does little tests where she'll give us an example or ask a question and then challenge people to answer or to respond to that. And then she'll provide the answer from Evidence Explained. She gives examples of source citations, just all sorts of things. Lessons about how to do different things in genealogy. And so I follow her on Facebook. Again, that's facebook.com/Evidence Explained. And I'm always watching for the little tidbits to show up in my newsfeed so that I can continue to expand my education, continue to learn from someone who has been doing this far longer than I have and has much more experience and knowledge than I do. And so I follow her so that I can learn from her, and I use her resources as a resource sitting on my desk at hand when I'm doing genealogy research. Okay, a couple more books and then we'll wrap it up. The first one, or the next one here, is Mastering Genealogical Proof. I have mentioned this briefly before. It's by Dr. Tom Jones, and it is a fantastic book. It's brand new this year, and it's broken into chapters with exercises or application opportunities. So he teaches something and then he gives you an opportunity to practice what he's just taught. On top of that, shortly after the book came out, there were a couple of study groups that developed, groups of people who got together who wanted to read the book and study it together and learn from each other. The most notable, of course, is Dear Myrtle. If you're not familiar with her, she runs a blog. She also runs a Monday webcast. Excellent resource. Again, another gem in the genealogy community. But she did a series of study guides or study lessons on Mastering Genealogical Proof. And so if you just Google Mastering Genealogical Proof and Dear Myrtle, you will find a series of videos that she has archived where they walked through each one of the lessons or the chapters in Dr. Jones' book. You might also be interested in putting together a study group of your own, either virtually online or offline. One of the things that I find is that when I get involved with some kind of a study group, it holds me accountable. And again, genealogists are always looking for ways to further their education, to improve their knowledge and skills. So having a study group to hold you accountable is really useful. So you can just put that together, put a call out on a Facebook page or in your blog and get 5 or 6 or 10 or 12 people together and, arrange to meet every Monday on a Google Hangout or whatever and walk your way through some of that. I would strongly encourage that if you're going to do that, you look for a mentor in the genealogical community, somebody who is a little bit more advanced than you are, that has had a little bit more experience, that can maybe help mentor you through that experience. Again, that's another thing that many, many professional genealogists do and have done as they've began their careers, is look for those mentors in the community. You don't have to be looking to be a professional genealogist to do professional level work. And I would hope that we're all striving to do professional level work because we want an accurate family history. I've mentioned before, we want to make sure we're climbing our own family tree, not somebody else's. We don't want fanciful information in our tree. And this just ensures that we're doing it right, that we've got the right information, that we've got the right skills, that we've got the right resources at our fingertips so that we can ensure that the information we're researching is as accurate as possible. Okay, the final resource that I just want to talk about briefly today, it's actually an old manual entitled Professional Genealogy. This was edited by Elizabeth Schoen Mills, and it has chapters on everything possible in the genealogy field, just about. And again, there is actually a formal study group for this. It's progenstudy.org is the website. And they run different, you sign up on a waiting list and then they'll put you in a study group. They've already got a mentor assigned to that study group. So it's a little bit more formal and way more organized. And they've been doing this for several years. Again, you don't have to be looking to be a professional genealogist in order to raise your skill level, in order to learn from other genealogists. And there's just something about networking with other genealogists. It opens your eyes and it helps you see that there's this whole big world out there of resources available, other opportunities, other ways to interpret information, better ways to cite your sources. Maybe you'll find that those brick walls that you've been banging your head against on your family tree for years just come crumbling down because now you have the information and the resources available in order to do that. So, Professional Genealogy, it's an excellent book. I have a copy of this on my desk, and I do refer to it on occasion, but that study group is probably going to be one of the best bets for taking your skills to the next level. And that's really useful because then not only are you learning, but you're also getting feedback from others about the kind of work that you're doing, about the research that you're doing, and about the way in which your family tree is taking shape. So that's all I have planned for you today. I am still on vacation, so this is pre-recorded and will be played at our regularly scheduled time, but that means that I likely will not be available on chat today. However, feel free to leave a comment on the YouTube channel if you're watching an archived version of this there. I do read and respond to those when I am in the office. I'm also, I've finished the November calendar, so look for that to go up online on our Facebook page in the next day or two. Well, I may not get to it until Monday when I'm back in the office, but look for those events for the month of November and be sure to click join to RSVP to the events that have topics of interest to you. Until next time, this is Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.